Thank you, Paula, for inviting me here today. The pilot project that we did in Wanganui was, we commenced in April in 2009, and it was after coming from the prison service and moving into primary health and discussions with colleagues, we talked about the inability for prisoners to move from prison back into the community without access to, they did have access to, not have enough access or good access to health services or any services. So that's when we put a plan together and applied for some funding, and as I say, the program started in April 2009. So the program was named Manaaki Whakaora, and it focused on the whole prisoner person. I'm going to use prisoner. I've noted today that it's inmate, prisoner, but I'm going to use prisoner, which is what I was used to. And it wasn't developed to do for the released prisoner, but to support them back into the community, to healthcare and to social needs. Rather than the doing, it was supporting. So the project aim was to maximise the health and wellness opportunities of released prisoners from Wanganui Prison by providing an intensive, holistic wraparound service and walking alongside them, being consistent, supporting them to realise their potential and regenerate their connection with whānau. At the time of the project, there were 520 prisoners housed at Wanganui Prison, and an average of 30 prisoners were released each month. And those that chose to stay were the ones to stay within the district were the ones that were offered our service. So there was no formal process to enable a continuum of care from prison to the GP, which led to a delay of presentation, an escalation in health issues, and a high number of emergency department presentations. And usually that number of emergency department presentations, the emergency department were met with aggressive behaviour of people wanting something right now, and not wanting to go through the normal process. Gosh. So the PHO had evidence of men who, following release, had advanced chronic health needs, as well as poor mental, spiritual and whānau well-being. Many thought the easy way out was to reoffend and to go back to what they knew or felt was safe and comfortable. Many of these men had no support, families didn't want to know them, their friends had moved out of the area or their friends continued to live lives of crime, and they didn't have the tools themselves to move themselves in a right direction. They had the prisoner stigma, and there was no one to motivate them, no one to restore their well-being or their self-confidence or their mana. And they would lose their way, or if not, had already lost it. So, as we've talked about this morning, and everyone is aware of, that there are a number of inequalities in our communities for health, for housing, for literacy, employment, rehabilitation and access to support. And although some support is provided by corrections or justice on release, navigating the complexity of these sectors often disempowers and sets the released prisoner, who may already be lost, up to fail. They needed someone who could support and walk alongside them and motivate them until their mana, their self-confidence and well-being was restored with the ultimate aim of an improved health status. So, we introduced the Health Navigator, and the criteria to become under this service was discussed with the health unit at the prison, and it was any prisoner with a chronic health condition, any ethnicity, a low decile, and or with no GP. So the health unit would discuss the service with the prisoner. They normally had about a 10-week window of opportunity between knowing when they were for release. So once they were identified, they discussed the service with the prisoner and obtained consent from them. So over time, the client's perception of the Manaaki Whakaora team actually changed from that of scepticism and a wariness to a positive and very eager acceptance. And this was due to the prison health staff and the prison grapevine. So we used a registered nurse as well as part of the team, and a community health worker, and they would go and visit the prisoners who had given their consent, and their first visit was normally just a hello, how are you, this is what we do, to gain some trust, to gain some rapport, and just to talk about objectives for when they left the prison, what their goals were for when they left. There were 61 men who were, 55 of them were referred from the health unit, 5 of them self-referred, and they were ones that had been released and heard about the service. 2 were referred from PARS and 1 from their GP. And interestingly, halfway through the project, 2 women released from Arahata had heard also about the service, and they referred themselves. The team supported the client to identify solutions to barriers that they had identified, and we would hold an MDT meeting once a month, which consisted of the Manaaki Whakaora team, myself, the reintegration team and the health team from Whangarei Prison, to discuss those prisoners with even higher health needs, and they were around. We had a number of elderly patients for release who couldn't be housed because of their offences. So having those meetings together actually kept the transition smooth. So what worked? Actually giving a damn about the prisoner, building a rapport, as I said before, that's what was needed. Honesty, being honest, keeping it real. Consistency in information, consistency in behaviour and expectations from the prisoner. Identifying that prisoner's strengths and potential, encouraging. Positive feedback, and more positive feedback, and more positive feedback. Keeping it simple, using their language, and not being identified as part of corrections. So the model that was used was Te Korowai Manaaki, and it encapsulates the philosophy behind the way the team worked. It's a model based on a cloak, and the cloak was the wraparound service that supported and protected, took care of and looked out for that prisoner. It was based on qualitative care rather than quantitative. It's about quality of life, not numbers. It was built on the Te Whare Tapawhā model by emphasising the holistic well-being, and it highlighted the importance of rapport, self-determination, and ensuring that clients and their whānau felt comfortable and were able to self-manage their well-being. It was about getting on a straight line, and to get on that straight line, they needed aroha. And this referred to self-love, love for others, having one person who cares for you, being caring, and that it was a basis of life. Rangamārie refers to inner peace and the deeds that you do, having an open heart and an open mind. It's your way of approaching people. It's being able to communicate at their level and having empathy. Whare marama, or enlightenment, understanding of where they're at. It's having insight, providing information, communicating at a level that they understand so that they're empowered to make healthy lifestyle changes. Piki te kaha, piki te ora, I've left one out. Health and strength, knowing where they're at, feeling empowered, starting to care again, feeling good about themselves. And ki kupu refers to filling the puku, physical sustenance, healthy eating, nutrition, keeping well, physical activity, being motivated to do something, and motivated especially to make changes. The majority of clients, as you can see, prisoners, as you can see, were Māori between the age of 20 and 39. The clients were supported through applying for claims, for applying for benefits, court appearances or probation appearances following their release, seeking education and job prospects, general practice appointments and expectations in a practice and expected outcomes, and that was our navigator would arrange their first appointment, would help them complete the enrolment form, and she would attend their first appointment. So their first general practice appointment would be a 30-minute appointment with a nurse who would do a full health assessment, and 15 minutes with a general practitioner after that, and back to the nurse to ensure that they had actually understood their health status, their medicines, and Jackie, the navigator, would attend all those meetings so that she too knew what the requirements were for that person to remain healthy or to improve their health status. We have a health check funding which we utilised for those first visits, and that was for people deprivation 5 Māori. So there was no cost to the prisoner for their first appointment. The navigator also would identify any other support services that were required to meet the released prisoners' goals, and that would be maybe alcohol and drug rehabs, anger management, diet and nutrition, and any whānau iwi reunion. There were a number of prisoners who had been lost from their families, who wanted to reunite with their families, and Jackie, our navigator, would assist in that. She had a number of marae visits, took released prisoners onto the marae for family reunions. She also, one family with children, actually showed them how to spend a day with your family, showed them how to make a picnic, told them where they should go, take them to the park, this park, go to that park, how to do it for a day, lent them her car so that they could do it. So their plans before they were released from prison may not have been anything to do with their health, but until you could sort out what their whānau, you could sort out income, anything like that, they didn't want to move on to health things. They wanted to make themselves feel better and to be able to move on to self-management. So in December 2009, we had a consumer forum where all of those released prisoners were invited. Of that 61 people, 50 clients attended, which reflected the successful relationships formed with that service. Some of them brought their whānau with them, and the comments, as you can see there, some of the comments included given information about my illness and medicines, gave me information I needed and choices. If given the opportunity to work with your team, it would be a pleasure to share my experience and help where needed. They involved my whole family. I was given respect from the beginning. If you're bad, dumb, can't read or write, have a head full of shit, then you're mental. And they showed me I'm not. Like Stan here today, we wanted to bring a couple of our guys with us who in 2012, 2 years down the track, 3 years down the track, who have got jobs. One of them is reunited with his family, with his wife, with his children, has set up a music group in Wanganui, a guitar teaching school, just amazing. So the evaluation was completed by Massey University, and if anybody would like a copy of the evaluation, please let me know. And it was identified that the success of the pilot was much influenced by the commitment and the passion of the Manaaki Whakaora team, and that's the right people doing the right job. The cultural understanding of the need for clients to be empowered often required reconnection with whānau, marae and iwi. When prisoners are released into the community, they are very aware of their marginalisation as ex-prisoners, yet they are expected to integrate back into that community. The skills of the right people supporting clients to access health services and build their self-confidence reflects the skills needed. So what I'm actually saying here is that you can have this service, but if you haven't got the right people doing the service, it won't make one iota of difference. And what I've heard today is what we've done is what Paula said, it's easy really. But what I've heard today is I think that people are doing that, that's what they want, but everyone's doing it in silos along the way, and we haven't got a smooth transition for that person. So thank you very much.